Hey folks, this is Alan with Hope Tech and another tutorial. This time we're going to go through creating a title menu to be able to pick levels and set some different options. You could see here I've got stencyl open and a couple different games. So we'll just use one of the games we created before. So I'll open up this Nike game and I've got one level here. And if I go through test the game, just show you what it kind of looks like. I believe it's an endless runner type of game. So it's going compiling. Hopefully I have everything set up so it'll play properly. Yeah, there it is. So you can see, and there's bouncing and everything. Okay, so we're going to take this, we're going to add a title menu and go from there. So the first thing we're going to want to do is create some graphics. So let me load. This is just a generic free graphic editor. There's other ones out there probably that are a little bit more proficient, that are like Photoshop or Illustrator, or the free versions, GIMP and Inkspace. This is just a generic paint.net. So I created a basic layer here, and I made sure it was, let me load the layer properties. So you got to turn the visibility on. In this particular tool, I open it up here, so you can just go creating additional layers, and by default it creates them with a transparent background. It might, let me drag the toolbar in here so you can see it. It might default to being all black or all white or something. Let me just go through and delete some of these others. So I just used the text tool and typed in my game. And from here, I'll save this as, oh, let me delete that one so it's not there. I'll just call it title, and a PNG file keeps the transparency. So you see the save button here. Oh, it says it already exists. Yeah, I'll replace it. And this is like picking what your transparency colors are. Just leave the default there. Now, I also want to have a kind of level 1 or something like that. So let's go and let's type level 1. And let me file, save as, and let's call this level 1. And again, a PNG file. Okay, so now we've got our two graphics done. Let me move this out of the way, and this little toolbar as well. Now what we're going to want to do is create the scene. So I've already got one scene in here. Let's go ahead and create a new scene, and let's just call it menu. It'll be the default size, and let's give it a background. Oh, let's do like a light blue, and let's create the menu. So here we go. And now we got to add the graphics. So we'll add this stuff as actor types. So let me save the game, go back to the dashboard. Let's go back to the actors, and let's add a new actor, and we'll call this title. Hit create, and there's no animations here. So let's go ahead and add an animation, and then we click here to add a frame, choose the image, and if I go to the desktop, I've got my title right there, and there it is. We'll add that in and save again. And there's not really much of anything we want to do with this. Let's go back to our actor types. Now let's create another actor, and let's call this level 1. And hit create. And again, there's no animations, but let's go ahead and add one. We'll add the first frame, choose an image, we'll call it level 1. And hit add there. And for name, let's just call it 0. Now, what we want to do also is like when you hover over this, maybe change it or something like that. So let me bring my drawing back in here. So here's my level 1 drawing. Bring the toolbar as well. And let's see if we can change the color here. Let me add the color wheel. So let's make it something like a bright yellow. Text. And then I can do it a couple different ways. I can create a new layer, and I can write level 1. I can try and make the font bigger. I could put it behind there as like a shadow. Um, just some simple stuff in tools like Photoshop you can do, and GIMP you can add bevels and all kinds of fancier stuff. So we'll do this, and then I'll save this as a PNG, and I'll call it level 1 um, hover. So if you're hovering over it, and again the same thing. We'll say OK. Now it's asking to flatten the image because it wants to combine the layers. And I'll say yep, or I'll just click it. Okay, so now we've got that. Let me come back off here, move these things out of the way so you can see the screen, and let's add another animation. So click down here to create a new animation. We'll call this one 1. Let's add a frame. Choose the image and level 1 hover. Add. So now we've got our 0 animation and our 1 animation. And we're not really doing anything fancy. If you want, you could do that, and you could make it like change the color as it goes through the letters and add a different frame for each one of those things. You can get as fancy as you want. Okay, let's save our game and go back to our, this is our menu scene. Now what we're going to want to do is let's add that stuff in here. So right now we got tiles selected. Let's switch over to actors, and you can see our title and then our level screen. So we'll bring this in, and you could turn on grids so you could kind of get a feel for if you're in the middle or not. And then let's add our, let's add level 1. Let's just put it in there somewhere. Okay, let's save this game, or the scene. So next we got to add some logic to this, and also when we go back to our dashboard and scenes, the default is still level 1. So we're going to want to, how do you do this? Right click, or just click on it, and then down here mark a starting scene, or depending on which version of Stencil you have, it might be a little different. But so you want to make it so that when you start the game, this is the scene you go to. Okay, let's go back to our menu. And then now what we want to do is switch over to the events. Now in here, we want to add a couple different events. First of all, let's add an event when drawing. And then we're going to add another event when updating. So for the drawing piece, this is where we want to be able to switch the different animations. So let's say when drawing, and then let's grab an if statement. So if, and now what we're going to do is we're going to want to know when the mouse is over. So let's see, is it under user input? Yeah. So you see right here, mouse is down on an actor. So let's pull this in, let's drag that into there. So when the mouse is over, and then let's choose a specific actor. So let's choose level 1. So if mouse is over level 1, let's do something in here. And now what we're going to want to do is let's go to, is it under actors? Yeah. So actors, and then I think it's under drawing. You can kind of click through and look. So here you see switch animation, right? So let's switch the animation to, and you know, you can go back, and we called this 0, we called this 1, so to be real easy, switch the animation to 1 for choose the actor. So now as soon as you move the mouse over level 1, it's going to switch the animation to 1. But when you move the mouse off, you want to be able to switch it back. So there's a couple different ways to do this. You can just drag the otherwise, and then we should be able to just copy this, paste this, drag it in here, and switch this to 0. So if the mouse is over this, switch the animation to 1. Otherwise, switch it to 0. And then we'll drag that whole thing in there. Okay, let's save that and let's test this out. So let's just test our scene. So we should be able to see as you move your mouse over, it changes it to yellow and then goes back. Okay, my game, and there we go. We see it turn yellow, and then as soon as we go off, the it's recognizing you've moved off and using that else or otherwise uh, part of the code. Okay, now let's actually have it do something when you click on it. So that's on the updating. So when updating, and again, we'll drag an if, and then we'll go to the user input and the mouse again, but this time instead of is over, you can use is down, released on, was pressed on. This is if you want it to happen when the mouse button goes up, or if the button gets pushed down, that kind of thing. We'll just leave is down and then choose an actor on level 1. So if the mouse is down on level 1, now we want it to switch the scenes. So it's probably over here in the scenes section, right? And here's game flow. So there's a couple here. Switch scene. Looks like this one's got a bunch of different options. Let's try that one. Let's see what it looks like. So switch to scene. Let's choose the scene. So let's switch the scene to level 1 and fade out. Yeah, let's fade out for maybe half a second using black. And then let's fade in for half a second using black. So it's going to fade out of our menu and fade in to level 1. So let's drag that in there, and let's drag that in there. So now every time as it's updating, it's going to check for this. And then there's the other one for drawing. So let's save this game. And let's see, if we missed anything? I don't think so. We got our title there. We got our level 1 there. Okay, let's test the scene. Okay, so still hover. Now if I click on it, there we go. It jumps to our game. Now let me go back to the dashboard and let's actually test the game. Let's make sure it starts with the main menu. There we go. Looks pretty good. Okay, so that's your basic menu. Now we'll build on it from here, and we'll add a couple other things. We want to add a settings button to change and adjust the volume. And then let's see if we can also maybe change the character a little bit. So if you want to be able to pick between a couple different characters.